Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of In the Kitchen with Baker Girl. Thank you, Jesus. It is another beautiful day to be in the kitchen, and I'm back with part 3 of my Cook a Traditional Soul Food Meal with Me. We've done the creamy lemony chicken, we've done the butter peas, we've done the mashed potatoes. Now we're off to the candied orange sweet potatoes. Now, this recipe is loosely based on my mother's sweet potatoes. Candied sweet potatoes. So what I'm doing is I'm top and tailing my sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are always stringy on the top and the tails. So you always cut those off. The older your sweet potato is, the more you'll have to trim, but always top and tail them. And then peel them, obviously, because you don't want... Sweet potato peels are not really edible, at least not to me. So get all your sweet potatoes peeled. I have the oven preheated to 360 degrees, but you can obviously bake these at a little lower temperature if you're cooking all day, you put your sweet potatoes in, you're going to let them cook for a couple hours. You can do that. Just make sure that the oven temperature is low enough. And I am using a handy dandy veggie peeler, but by all means, my mother used a knife, which is why I wanted to mention that, because my mom used a knife. She didn't use a veggie peeler, but I'm sorry, I'm not that skilled with a knife like that, so I am using a veggie peeler. And there I am, top and tailing more sweet potatoes. This is roughly around 2 pounds of sweet potatoes. Now, I will share with you a tip that I learned from my mother, and this is very important. The smaller the sweet potato, the sweeter they are and the less stringy they are. Larger sweet potatoes are not as sweet as the small ones, and they can have a few more strings. And of course, the older the sweet potato, the more strings it will have. So whenever we were picking out sweet potatoes, my mother would always say, get the smallest ones. They're the sweetest and the least stringy. Now, I'm cutting my sweet potatoes into right a little bit more than 1/4 inch thick. You don't want them to be too thin, and you don't want them to be too thick. If they are thicker, that's perfectly fine, obviously, but you just need to let them cook a little longer. Sweet potatoes are fairly hearty, so it can take them longer, obviously, the thicker you cut them. But once they are done, they will become very soft. So that's why you don't want to slice them too thinly, and they are somewhat difficult to cut. So just make sure you're careful with the knife and all of that stuff, because they are a little hard. Now, I have a bowl of cold water, and as I cut sweet potatoes, I immediately transfer them to the bowl of cold water, because sweet potatoes will oxidize, and then they show up all the little bumps and the bruises that they've taken on their journey to your kitchen. So keep them in a bowl of cold water, and that will help prevent them from oxidizing. And also, too, this gives them an extra little wash, because obviously you scrub them before you peel them, but this gives them just an extra little wash. So that's what I'm doing here, just kind of removing some of the starch. They won't have starch like a russet potato, but they do have a bit of starch on them. You want to go ahead and rinse that off. Now, I am removing the zest with my veggie peeler. My orange tried to run away from me. I'm removing the zest of an orange. These are car oranges, but you can use whatever orange is available to you. And I'm making sure, try my best not to get the pith underneath, because that is a little bit bitter. You can zest the oranges over the sweet potatoes, but I like to remove the zest. And this is a little bit, to me, less fussy than zesting oranges. Just use a veggie peeler and remove the zest. Now, growing up, Mama cooked these a lot, and she simmered hers actually on the stove. Mom didn't put hers in the oven. She would let them simmer on the stove, and she used brown sugar versus honey. So that's my variation of her original recipe. Now, for the spices, I am using allspice, which it is not allspice, by the way. It is only one spice, but that is the name, allspice, because in the cooking sense, you can use it as a substitute for cinnamon, nutmeg, and ginger. You can use allspice to replace all of those spices if you wanted to. Now I have my glass Pyrex dish, which is actually I received from my mother, and I thought it only appropriate to use her dish to make her recipe. So I've drained my sweet potatoes, and I'm just layering them in the glass dish. I did not butter my baking dish. I don't see a need to do so, but if you wish to butter yours, you absolutely can. And if you wanted to, you could do this in layers. So you could add some honey and then another layer of sweet potatoes and then honey. I just add my honey right on top. If I was doing brown sugar, I would combine the sugar and the spices, and then I would sprinkle the sugar in layers on the sweet potatoes. So I am juicing those oranges because these are candied orange sweet potatoes. If you're doing this in a stovetop method, you would add the orange juice in midway of the cooking. So you would just stick with the water and reserve the orange juice for midway and then add it in. Now I'm using a local raw honey, and you can go as heavy on the honey or as light on the honey as you like. You can skip it all together. You can also substitute maple syrup if you like, but we like honey, and it's really, really good with sweet potatoes. I'm adding some ground cinnamon. You can add some cinnamon sticks. I contemplated using cinnamon sticks, but in the end, I decided to go ahead and go with ground cinnamon. And this is a cinnamon from Ceylon, so it's really, really fragrant and very warm. It's a very warm cinnamon. I'm also using some ground nutmeg. Now, Mama would never have skipped on the cinnamon and the nutmeg. So you can go as heavy with these guys as you like. That is the thing about soul food cooking. You season it, flavor it to your liking. I'm adding in those whole allspice berries. Actually, I did crush them with my mortar and pestle, as you saw. And I'm just sprinkling those in. Then I'm adding in my orange zest. Oh my goodness, it smells so good. I love anything with orange. And of course, I am going to dot the surface of my sweet potatoes with butter because you just got to. I mean, you can't. Olive oil would not do here. No insult to olive oil, but I'm sorry. For this, we need some butter. And you need some salt. Despite the fact this is a sweet dish, you definitely got to add a little bit of salt. And I'm adding in about 1/4 cup of hot water. Now, I'm going to cover this with a piece of parchment paper, and then I am going to cover it with aluminum foil. I never like to put aluminum foil directly next to any food that has acid in it. In this case, it would be the orange. Obviously, if you were doing this on the stovetop, you would just add on a tight-fitting lid. And these would be delicious if you made them in a Dutch oven as well. Now, halfway through the cooking, I did take them out of the oven and flip them over just to make sure the top ones didn't hug all of the cinnamon. And also, I removed the lid and allow them to cook for about 10 minutes uncovered. But I am going to drain off the excess orange liquid off of the sweet potatoes once they are done. And then I just put the orange juice in a little sauce pot and let it simmer away. Be sure to taste it. If it's not as sweet as you like, you can add a little bit more honey. If it's sweeter than you like, you can add a little bit more orange juice. And the sweet potatoes are ready to plate up. I love a good sweet potato, and my mother absolutely loved sweet potatoes. Mom was a queen at cooking sweet potatoes. Her sweet potatoes were, of course, they were the best. And I'm not just saying that. God bless my mother. She was truly a wonderful cook, and I hope this recipe would do her proud. Because, yeah, she was a good cook and taught me what I know about cooking. And just a little extra drizzle of orange juice, and they're done. I hope you all have enjoyed this episode of Cooking a Soul Food Meal with me. If you have, please give the video a thumbs up. And please let me know which recipe was your favorite. And the good Lord willing, I will see you guys again in another video. Take care, y'all. Bye.